So, Echoes of the Past, my short story, prequel setup for the Into the Wild series, is coming next week on February 23rd to all ebook devices, and I'm very excited. I actually can't wait for this release. It's going to be the first of this series, which is going to be 3 novels and 4 short... Wait, hold on. Yeah, 4 short stories. So 3 novels, 4 short stories, which is, my maths is really bad, 6 stories for the Into the Wild series in total. No, it's 7 stories for the Into the Wild series in total, and I've been working on this so much and I'm really excited to bring it to everyone. But I know that there may be some questions about this, so I put on my YouTube channel, my Patreon, and to various different people questions that they have about Echoes of the Past that they would like answered before its release. So here I am to answer your questions about my short story, Echoes of the Past. Now, first I just have a few generic things that I'm basically going to be answering before I get into the main questions to hopefully just give some insight to the story in general. So first up is the question, what is this story about? And that's a simple enough answer, I should say, but this is also me, so hopefully I just keep it simple enough, in the fact that this story follows Echo, the wolf who has just struck out on his own from its pack in search of another, but obviously it takes a long time to find another pack that is willing to accept you into their group. And he figures out pretty soon after leaving, being a lone wolf isn't all it's cracked up to be. And hunger is something that follows very, very quickly when you're not able to hunt in other packs' territories. And unfortunately, hunger leads to some very poor decisions on Echo's part. But you have to read to find out a little bit more about that. The next is when the story releases. So I've mentioned this, so it is on Wednesday, February 23rd. It is out for pre-orders at the moment when this video is out. But there are some platforms, unfortunately, which in this case turns out to be Amazon Kindle, that you can't pre-order on because Amazon is not a fan of the distribution website that I use. But it will be available on Amazon Kindle on the day, which is February 23rd. Another is, why is this story only ebook? And this is basically the fact that it is a short story, and by short I mean like it's only about 6,000 words total, I believe. And yeah, so 6,000 words as like a hardback paperback is just too expensive for me to do. So ebooks is basically the idea behind all the short stories that are going to be coming out, so all 4 of them will all be ebook only. And hopefully that should be fine. I know it causes some issues. I would love to do audiobooks with them as well, but as this is like me doing indie / self-publishing with this, it is quite expensive to do audiobooks, but hopefully one day I will be able to do audiobooks for all of them if, this takes off and it does really well. So fingers crossed I can eventually do ebooks. Well, fingers crossed I can eventually do audiobooks alongside the ebooks. Another is, who is the artist of the cover for this, and that is Ran Pacoca on Instagram and Twitter. So Ran is actually going to be doing all the covers for my short stories. Ran, I'm really excited for them. They're actually doing the next short story, which is set after Home to the Wild, the first novel. I don't know how far it'll be done at this point when I'm recording, but that's being worked on at the moment, and they're going to be doing the other ones as well because their art is just amazing. If you're ever looking for an artist to commission, their links is going to be in the description because they're amazing. But now, getting into the main questions that people have been asking about the series, let's go. So first up on YouTube from Pika Mir, their comment was, firstly, just congrats, this is a major step. Can I ask about the general premise of the story / how it will lead into your series later on? And they just went on a really nice thing of like, you're very well spoken in your video, so I can't wait to see what your stories sound like. I appreciate that very much. To know, I will say I won't be having the full audiobook done. So I'm actually getting a voice actor who is Erica Ito, who people may remember seeing in the fundraiser live stream that we did back in December. They're from Seaweed Brain. I'm actually having them do a few of the chapters for Echoes of the Past to put up here on YouTube on the day that it releases. So there'll be some things that you'll be able to get kind of listener wise for Echoes of the Past. Just unfortunately I can't afford to do the full thing, but that is happening, so you'll be able to hear some of it as well. But the question of, can I ask the general premise of the story and how it will lead to the series later on? Yes, you can. So basically the idea of Echoes of the Past is very much a huge setup of basically big things that happen in Home to the Wild, which is the general bond of the two lead members of the pack. So this is a story that follows wolves in particular. Like, wolves are a huge feature of this series because I like wolves. Like, I got all my wolves here, so big fan of wolves. And the two lead sort of in a pack, basically there are two lead, male and female, who are the breeding pair of the pack, basically the mum and dad of a pack. And Echo was one of these characters who is one of the leaders in the Home to the Wild pack. The other is a character called Larka. And I kind of wanted to have an introduction to their relationship so we can see where they started and where they are now in Home to the Wild, as well as the conflict that occurs in Echoes of the Past of this world beyond the forest and the dangers that are there that are just basically just around the corner, in a sense, of where the pack is, and how this danger is sort of ever present and how that will lead to problems in Home to the Wild. So it is very much the setup of this general anxiety that people will have. So if you've read this short story before going into the Home to the Wild, when this sort of anxiety starts to build, you'll kind of maybe remember what was happening in Echoes of the Past and remember what was round the corner. And that anxiety will help build up the tension of the lead up to this reveal of what is happening and what's going on in Home to the Wild. So it's basically an informative aspect of, like, it just gives you a little bit more information about what's happening in Home to the Wild and the real fear that kind of comes with it. So yeah, that's basically kind of the whole thing. It's basically to add to the experience of reading Home to the Wild and informing some more of the characters that you see in it. Hopefully that helps make sense of what you were asking. Apologies if I did not answer that very well. Next up are some questions that came from my Discord server, both from patrons and non-patrons on Discord. So one of the questions is this short story necessary for the series? And I have to say, and this is the thing that I feel like it's possibly going to hurt my sales saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. This short story isn't something you have to read to enjoy Home to the Wild. Literally, as I was just saying before, basically the main thing that it does is that it informs more information and more character elements for this short story for Home to the Wild. So what you learn here will just add to your experience of Home to the Wild. It just gives more information to the things that are happening. My voice is going. It will add more things to what you are experiencing in Home to the Wild, as well as kind of give a lot of understanding to how the wolves are and why they basically act the way that they act. And so it just basically adds to the experience. It's not a necessary read, but it is one that I think will help add to your experience of the series. Again, hopefully that makes sense. The next question is the title obvious when it comes to its importance to the story? Is it something that readers will have to dig deeper for? Perhaps it's revealed at the end of the story, or is it metaphorical? And I guess it is kind of metaphorical. So as you may have heard, the main character of the story is called Echo. He is a black-furred wolf, and his name is Echoes, hence the Echoes part of the title. But it is also the fact that in comparison to Home to the Wild, this is set about 3-4 years prior to the events of Home to the Wild, which is this lead up to it. So how do I want to say this? So I guess it is in a sense like a metaphorical thing of, like, I actually wrote Echoes of the Past when I'd finished writing and revising Home to the Wild. So the title was kind of like an inside joke to me of, it's Echoes of the Past because I'm writing a story event that happened before the events of the novel I've just written. I've just written. So it was kind of like a joke to myself, but it also kind of adds to that of the fact that this story is set way before the events of the main book, which is kind of I don't even know how, am I explaining this correctly? Hopefully I'm making sense, but basically it was more of like a joke to myself and also somewhat metaphorical, because if you read the story, even if you read the story after Home to the Wild, it still gives this whole thing of, like, it's this past influencing what is known in the future. And you'll kind of get it a little bit more by the end of the fact that, like, there is some reflection that is happening within the main story itself. So hopefully, I think it was more of a joke to myself, and then I was kind of like, actually, I kind of like this title, and it made sense considering the character's name being Echo and the fact that I'd written the story, which is set in the past, after writing the main novel, and that's just how it ended up being. One other question that I did get, which was very simple and very direct, and that was the question, why wolves? And I don't know whether I was meant to take offence at the question because it was very direct and just blunt, but the reason was that I've always had a fascination with wolves. But the reason why the story came about that featured wolves is because when I was in hospital having spinal surgery, I had a very, very vivid dream of a girl living in the wild among wolves, being raised by wolves. And that image just stayed with me ever since. And admittedly, it was half because, like, as I pointed out earlier, I had like my wolf toys with me at the hospital. So I was like holding them as I was sleeping, and I had this very vivid dream of a girl living with wolves, being raised by wolves. And it just stuck with me. Like, that happened when I was 17 is when I had that dream. I'm going to be 27 this year. So for nearly a decade, this idea has stuck with me. And it just blew up into this whole series of ideas of what this could mean for like a girl who's been raised by wolves. What does that mean for her? What does society look like to her? What does a society look like for wolves? And how would they work with a human being raised among the pack? And it just kind of went on from there, and it was just something that was just really fascinating to me. And I've always been fascinated with wolves in general. Like, you get your horse girls and then you get your wolf girls. I was like a mixture of the two, but wolves came out on top. And yeah, so that's basically why wolves, and it was because I've always been fascinated by them, and it just kind of went from there. And yeah, so that was why wolves, and also how this story came to be. There was another question that asked, like, how do I come up with this idea for Echoes of the Past and also the story? And it was basically, I was high on morphine and had a fever dream. That's how it came to be. And yeah, it was really exciting, and I'm really excited to get this out. So I'm really looking forward to everyone being able to read Echoes of the Past and Home to the Wild, which is officially coming out August of this year. I'll be doing the cover reveal very soon. I'm not going to be doing it too soon after the release of Echoes of the Past, so the hype for Echoes stays up there, but I will then be revealing it alongside like pre-orders and stuff like that when that's officially out. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I hope everyone enjoys Echoes of the Past. All the information, so the link for the pre-orders is going to be in the description box, alongside the link for the Goodreads page where you can add it to your shelves or anything like that and put want to read and stuff like that, so more people can find it. Tell your friends about it as well, or leave reviews. I hope you enjoy it. That's basically where I'm going with this. I really hope you guys enjoy this story, and thank you for everyone who dropped in questions. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any questions in general, comment them below and I'll be sure to answer them in the comment section as well. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, everyone. I'll see you all next time.